Hi guys, Sullivan Owen here in Philadelphia. So as the title says, I'm going to be talking about common mistakes that I see newcomers making when entering the floral industry. And I actually think many of these will apply to most types of creative and maker type of businesses. So let's get started. Oh, and because I can't stand still ever, I'm going to be making some floral wire stems for these sugar flowers, which you will see in an upcoming video. I just attended the most amazing sugar flower workshop and I am planning on making an arrangement with them, and in order to do that they're going to need some longer stems. So I am going to make myself some floral wire stems for my sugar flowers. Okay, let's get started on common mistakes. Alright, so mistake number 1, starting your business because you think it will be fun. Now, I know that's a tough one to start off with, and you're probably already enjoying and making whatever it is you're pursuing, and you think it would be so amazing, it would be the ultimate dream to get to do whatever it is you're enjoying doing and make your living from it. And I think this is a mistake that is perpetuated now by social media, because we all end up in these content loops. We enjoy following something and so we see more of it, and so that idea that doing your dream whatever, you end up in a loop where everyone you see is doing it. But it's not a great reason to start a business. The reason that successful businesses work is because they identify a void in the market and they believe that their work, product, skill, talent can fill that void. If I can get really businessy with you, what you really need is a unique selling proposition. And that ultimately has nothing to do with whether or not you enjoy whatever it is you're hoping to pursue. Let's say you love the idea of locally grown flowers. Great. Then it's your job to figure out if there is a market where you are for locally grown flowers. Has anyone pursued it? If they did and they didn't succeed, what were the reasons for that? How can you fill this need? And is there enough demand for locally grown flowers for you to make a living from it? Did you notice that nothing that I just said had anything to do with growing, planting, researching flowers, designing, branding, building a website, posting on social media? You have to do all that work up front to make sure it is worth your while to make a local flower business. If there is, great, you're on your way. But what I see mostly these days is people getting into businesses because they think that it will be fun and enjoyable, and not because they see a void in the market that their work can fill. The main reason we have an economy of side hustles and short-lived small businesses is because these businesses were launched without any of that research that I just mentioned, and there wasn't necessarily a need that they were fulfilling. The floral industry in particular was already shrinking when I decided to open my studio, and my work took off because my work was so unlike anything that was in Philadelphia at the time. And my business has had to shift and evolve and change every year as dozens of new designers enter the field and start undercharging for things and giving away far too many flowers. So that was a really long way to say, if you're starting your business because you see so many people doing it, I would really encourage you to take a step back. Identify what you're really good at. See if there is a need for it in your market. Decide if it's worth it to you to pursue it as a business, and then proceed. Fun is just not a good reason to start a business. Common mistake number 2, thinking you have to be everything to everyone. So the idea of a flower shop 10 years ago was that they would have pre-made arrangements, bouquets, loose stems, gifts, they could do delivery arrangements, they could do a wedding, and they could do a funeral all under one roof. But the beauty of today's social media way of marketing your business means that you can kind of pick and choose what your skill level is, where your skill level is best, and pursue those aspects of the business that speak best to you. When I opened up for example, I thought that I always had to have flowers around to make in case someone called, to make a delivery arrangement. And honestly, that business was so expensive and never made money. It meant that not only did I have to have flowers around that may or may not get used before they die, but I had full-time staff, I had phones, I had a studio, I had courier service and a delivery vehicle. And I was competing with online order aggregators and discount websites and wire service. So the delivery business never really took off for me, even though I did have loyal clients that loved what we were able to provide. And I ultimately let that aspect of my business go. And I don't know if I just found it too creatively limiting, and so I never really gave that aspect of the business enough attention, or because I was unwilling to compromise by using inferior quality flowers so that we could compete with some of the online. I had to realize that that was not going to be the way that I could contribute to the floral industry in my area. So you don't have to be everything to everyone. You often do have to try things to see if they connect with you, but don't be afraid to shed aspects of a business or industry that don't really connect with you. Common mistake number 3, you can't eat exposure. So this one is incredibly, it runs rampant in the floral and wedding industry in particular. You'll continually be asked to provide your work for free in exchange for photos and exposure. And this is not to say that I've never done this. I myself have participated in many shoots for exposure, so I'm not saying to never do it. But what I am asking you is to consider whether return on the investment is there for you or not. Flowers cost money, your design time costs money, your rent and mortgage generally require money, and at some point you're going to have to be paid for the work that you provide, because you can't pay your rent on likes. So you have to figure out what you're comfortable giving away. And sometimes that means you have to try it a few different ways and a few different times to see what the return is before you can make those decisions going forward in the future. I've done projects for bloggers that have generated thousands, even millions of impressions and views and likes and things like that. And I have done shoots for photographers whose work I would never even share on my social media channels because creatively it just wasn't a good fit. So I'm not saying to never do these things, but what I am saying is that there is not enough emphasis put on what the return is going to be. As a self-employed person, you are free to determine your work's value. But one cannot pay their health insurance premiums off of Instagram followers or likes, which is basically the only guarantee you're getting if a celebrity decides to post about you. Unless the celebrity is in your niche, you're unlikely to garner long-term customers and fans from that exposure. So think very carefully about what it is you want to get out of whatever opportunity is being presented to you. It can be very hard to capitalize on social media exposure. So enjoy the flattery, but then stop to think why this person shouldn't pay for what your work is worth. And in my opinion, avoid the flashy clapback posting of the request that is so common these days. Rather than burn the bridge by exposing the ludicrous request for free, what have you, you're just going to be putting some poor assistant on blast whose job, frankly, it is to ask these things. Everyone knows that celebrities get things for free. It's these people's jobs to ask. It's not an insult to you that they are asking for free. It's just how the industry has been running for so long. So I'm personally not a fan of burning bridges, because if you nicely explain why your work is worth what it is, there's a chance that if this isn't going to work for them, they may come back to you at some point with at least the knowledge of what the work costs and ultimately a budget to pay you for it. So that's just my personal opinion. You can do you, but I'm not a fan of the clapback. You want to not burn bridges as much as possible. Common mistake number 4, letting your clients determine your pricing. What do I mean? I mean, stop asking your clients what their budget is right now. You're the expert in what you do, and you know how much it costs to make what you make and how much your design time is worth. So I would suggest listening to what the client is asking you for, taking a beat, and then telling them how much that work will cost for you to produce for them. The websites that exist now post pictures of luxury aspirational weddings next to budget breakdowns that I think generally allot around $25 for a centerpiece. So your client isn't necessarily well informed when they're setting up their budget. We went car browsing recently, and I'm trying to imagine what that conversation might look like if I went into a car dealership and said that we were looking for something with great fuel economy, latest and greatest tech. It needed to be comfortable. My husband would like it if it was a little bit sporty, and I was really interested in like longevity, maintenance, etc. And we looked at the car salesman and said we would like to pay $24,000 for our vehicle because that's what we determined is a comfortable budget number for us. Well, so if we were at Toyota, that would probably work. We might be able to find something that checked the boxes and fit into that budget. But if we're at the Mercedes dealer, I've always tried to imagine what that conversation would be like. We probably wouldn't be leaving with a car. And so that's why I'm asking you guys to think about flipping the conversation. When you start from a limitation that the client has predetermined, you are putting a limit on the value of your work, and you're already likely to be missing. So it's a twofold conversation. It's one, you listening to what they're asking for, and then informing the client of your process, your time, what it takes to make the work, and giving them that price. Clients, rather than say, this is how much wedding flowers should cost, need to instead determine what their overall budget is, and then find vendors whose work fits into the price ranges that they have. You do not have to fit every single budget. I remember losing a job a few years ago because I had a great conversation with the client. We had an initial proposal in place. They had around $10,000 to spend, and they asked me to come walk through the venue with them before we made the final adjustments to the proposal. So we went to the venue, we had a couple hours at the space, worked on lots of new design ideas that ended up adding up to around an additional $9,000 in design items. Because they were not in the initial conversation, they came out of the walkthrough. And I sent the client the revised estimate proposal, design proposal with all the new elements. And I got an email back saying that they were going to work with somebody else because they felt that $10,000 was a generous budget and they should have whatever they wanted within that. And I wasn't sorry not to get the job. I was sorry to see that another designer took it and delivered in the initial budget, most likely, far over what they should have. But if I had let the client determine that what I thought was a $20,000 wedding could be done for 10, I don't think I'd be standing here talking to you guys. And I understand that, especially for women in business, this conversation around money and pricing is very challenging, and it has taken me a long time to get to a place where I'm comfortable saying this. And I am not saying this that we should be gouging clients, but it is our job as the experts in what we do to educate them about what work costs, what it costs to make. Not what the flowers cost at wholesale, not how much, the vessel costs, because in the day of the internet, they can find that stuff out. But what your work and what your value is that you bring to the table, that's up to you to know and you to communicate. I don't want to do hundreds of weddings to make my goals. I want to collaborate with a handful of clients who appreciate and see the value that I bring to the table. Some of my design staff has 15 years of experience, and I have to pay them accordingly. I also rely on a variety of flowers ranging from economical to honestly obscene, and I think that my work would suffer if I allowed the client to dictate how much I could or couldn't spend on specific flowers. So if you're struggling to make it in your creative business, I would really encourage you to envision a change in the conversation. Instead of letting the client tell you that they have this much money to spend and you reverse engineering the work that you do to fit into that budget, have a conversation, listen to what they're asking for, use your knowledge, use your experience to let them know how much the work they're asking for will cost. Don't confuse their budget with your worth. They are not the same thing. Mistake number 5, not being flexible or adaptive to market changes. This is something that I struggle with even 10 years later. I make a plan and stick with it until I make a new plan, and honestly the world just doesn't work like that. It just moves too fast. So if you've done your research and successfully launched your business, and now you're feeling that flush of being the new kid has come and gone, and things are starting to change, you're gonna have to change with it. And it can be really, really hard for small creative businesses to change because we're so personally invested in it. I mean, my business is my name. It doesn't get more personal than that. So here's an example. About 5 years into my business, I realized that I wasn't booking the jobs that I had considered like my bread and butter weddings. And because of social media, I was able to see who and where these jobs went eventually. So one of the side effects of being a cool newcomer is that you get to be the person that everyone comes gunning for. And as someone that has always identified as a total weirdo, this was particularly foreign to me. As I've said, I started my business because I didn't see anyone doing the work that I was doing. So the idea that someone would start a business to try and emulate the work that I was doing is not something that I would have ever considered. So thanks to social media, I'm able to see that clients are taking my beautiful, thoughtfully prepared, very detailed design plans and taking them to a tier of designers that were undercutting the prices from anywhere from 25 to 50% less. And I was really faced with a choice. I could choose to try to take these weddings back by diluting my brand and working at a price point that I wasn't comfortable with, by delegating some weddings to a designer. Or I could choose to just focus on the design work that I was really best at and turn the other cheek on all the wannabes. So this was all really hard, and it took me around 3 years before I could fully embrace what I guess is my current ethos. I only work with clients that value my work. They value my ideas and are willing to pay me for it, and they do not price shop my work because they understand that they cannot get my work anywhere else. I don't label my work as luxury, premium, top tier, any other vanity label you could smack on it. I work with clients that value what I bring to the table, and the ones that don't, there are plenty of choices for just flowers. Number 6, you build your business by copying other people's work. I went to art school for 2 years before I dropped out. We spent most of the foundation year copying old masters' drawings and paintings. The idea was that you would learn the movement, the brushstrokes, the lines, before eventually launching into your own lines and brushstrokes. The problem in today's workshop culture, where everyone is continually learning from everyone else, sometimes they're being taught by people who barely have any experience at all, is that I see a lot of people never making the leap to making their own art. And the problem with building your business by copying work is that it's harder to charge what you need to for it when you're duplicating work that already exists. And there's just no unique selling proposition. And when you reach a point where you would like to branch out and create your own work, you will have wasted dozens of opportunities to do so because you were busy trying to be somebody else. It's a total cliche, but you have to be yourself because everybody else is already taken. And one more note on this. Pinterest is not an idea catalog for you to shop from for your work. A good designer can communicate their design ideas without relying on other people's imagery. Common mistake number 7, overlearning, or taking too much advice from too many people and never acting on it. So I think we have an execution problem in this day and age. There are online workshops, courses, tutorials, videos, mastermind groups, Facebook groups, social media classes, etc., and not enough people acting on what they learn in these varied ways. See, what I think happens is everyone sees someone successful or influential on social media and thinks that that just happened for them. And therefore, it might happen for you too. So I don't think anyone's really putting themselves out there in a meaningful way. Well, that's not true. Since I have become part of the YouTube community, I am astounded at the millions of ways people put themselves out there so regularly. And it's why I'm still working on this. But making videos for me, especially ones like this where I speak very frankly, it's terrifying. And no workshop, course, skill set, mastermind group, etc. is ever going to make that less scary. But you just have to do it. And I do it because I have bigger goals, and making these videos pushes me in that right direction. So if you've learned the skills that you need to and made the work that you want to put out, at some point you really just have to put it up there. You will never attend enough classes to make that less scary. There isn't a video for that. It's hard and painful and scary, and it does not get easier, and if it doesn't work, that's just as hard and scary and painful. But you just have to try again. But stop to ask yourself if you're overlearning or you're just listening to too many people. And just try taking some action. See what happens. Thank you guys so much for watching. This was a tough video for me to make. I hope you found it helpful. If there's anything in particular that resonated with you, please leave me a comment. Share it with someone if you think they need to hear it. Let me know if there's anything that you're going to be working on. And let me know if you want to see more stuff like this. The rest of the holiday decor is in progress, and I will be putting that out there for you guys to see what you think. So thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.